Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're taking a fascinating shortcut. We're moving straight past just aesthetics and into the hidden architecture of the internet, digital psychology. Our mission really is to unlock those invisible forces that, dictate your behavior every single time you touch a screen. We're not just here to talk about, readable fonts or pretty pictures. No.
Yeah.
We're diving deep into how the most successful digital platforms are fundamentally engineered. And, engineered not just to look good, but to guide your clicks, influence your mood, maybe streamline your decisions, all before you're even consciously aware of what's happening.
That's exactly it. That's the crucial pivot. User engagement is often seen as this conscious, rational choice, but the research, the sources show it's dramatically impacted by these subtle psychological cues. And strategic triggers, too. These elements influence your thought, feeling, and action subconsciously. We're really unpacking the design elements operating beneath the surface.
Right. And for you, the listener, the person using these tools every day,
Yeah.
have you ever wondered why navigating some apps feels just absolutely effortless, like breathing, while others just generate instant friction, frustration? It's that difference, isn't it, between psychologically engineered flow and just, accidental design.
Okay, let's unpack this idea then. Psychological engineering. Our sources use this term, the invisible hand of design, which means the most powerful design elements are, operating beneath conscious awareness. We're talking microseconds of perception here, the speed your brain recognizes and responds. Exactly. And when we talk about the invisible hand, you should think about seemingly minor details, things like the weight and style of a micro-interaction maybe, or the specific hierarchy of information on a dashboard, even just the distance between two buttons on a screen. These are strategic choices. They generate predictable subconscious responses that guide behavior, often exploiting these cognitive shortcuts we all rely on daily without even thinking about it. So design, then, it really transcends just being visual decoration. It's a strategic tool, optimized to influence specific thought patterns, evoke particular emotions, drive actions, all based on scientifically grounded principles. It's about minimizing the user's mental overhead while, maximizing the brand's desired outcome.
Okay, but I have to ask, isn't this invisible hand sometimes just, another word for manipulation? How do the sources differentiate between engineering an intuitive flow and maybe just tricking the user into clicking something?
That's a really crucial distinction. And the sources, they do emphasize that engineering flow is about cognitive ease, making the intended path easier for the user. Manipulation, on the other hand, often relies on deception, or what we call dark patterns. So leading brands, they walk a bit of a tightrope, right? They deploy these psychological principles to craft experiences that feel natural, maybe even beneficial to the user, while also optimizing for business goals like conversion or retention. The real difference lies in whether that optimized path serves both the user and the platform, honestly.
Okay, that sets the stage perfectly. Let's move into some specific, powerful psychological triggers then. And we'll start with one that hits your brain almost instantly. Color theory.
Oh, yeah. Color is basically emotional shorthand. And while, everyone sort of knows blue is often associated with trust, the sophistication lies in the application, the specific shade even. For instance, blue is favored by financial and health platforms precisely because it creates this calm psychological environment. It signals reliability, credibility.
Right, and you contrast that with, say, red.
Big contrast.
Yeah, it can signal immediate urgency, right? Particularly in clearance sales or maybe alerts.
Yeah.
But it needs careful use.
Definitely. Red triggers attention, absolutely, but too much can actually lead to anxiety. It's effective for maybe a limited time call to action, a CTA, but it could be catastrophic for a long form content site where you need sustained focus from the user.
Okay. And green, that seems pretty universal.
Green universally signals progress, positivity. Think about the completion of a task, a successful transaction. It reinforces those positive behavioral loops. You successfully did the thing you intended. It's a little reward.
And orange, where does that fit in?
Orange is interesting. It sort of balances the energy of red with approachability. It's often used for those secondary calls to action, like get started or learn more, where you need a bit of enthusiasm, but without, high pressure.
And the sources confirm this isn't just abstract theory, is it? There's data.
Oh, absolutely.
A/B testing provides pretty concrete evidence of color's power. It's cited that simple changes, and we're not just talking a red button versus blue button, but isolating the specific hex code of a shade of red against maybe the user's default theme, that alone can increase conversion rates by, 20 to 40%?
That's the kind of figure we see, yeah.
Wow. That level of impact really shows how deeply these psychological color associations influence our decision-making, totally outside of rational analysis.
Absolutely. And moving beyond color, we can look at these dual tactics that drive immediate, really high-speed decision-making,
Yeah.
scarcity and social proof. These tactics leverage some pretty deep-seated human instincts. Scarcity, for instance. It creates immediate urgency by triggering the fear of missing out, right? FOMO. When you see only two left at this price, it activates the brain's loss aversion mechanism. And this is a really powerful psychological tool because studies consistently show the pain of losing something is often like twice as psychologically powerful as the pleasure of gaining it. So the threat of loss, it accelerates decision-making, and crucially, it reduces that comparison shopping that slows platforms down.
So if the user doesn't act quickly, they aren't just missing out on a product. They're actually experiencing a kind of psychological loss. That explains a lot of impulse buys online.
Precisely. And paired right alongside that is social proof. Phrases like 1,000 people bought this today or trending now, they leverage our evolutionary instinct to follow the crowd. When you, the user, are uncertain about a purchase or maybe an action you need to take, you look to the behavior of others as a kind of cognitive shortcut. If everyone else is doing it, well, it must be the correct or trustworthy decision. Saves mental energy.
But again, the ethics question comes up.
It does. And as we touched on earlier, designers really must balance effectiveness with authenticity here. While these tactics are undoubtedly powerful, fabricating scarcity or social proof, making up numbers or inventory levels, it's ultimately a self-defeating strategy. Sure, it might provide a short-term boost, but it fundamentally damages long-term trust and brand reputation. It can turn a loyal customer into a skeptical observer pretty quickly.
Okay, good point. Shifting gears a bit, let's talk about the user experience itself, the actual journey, and why managing cognitive load is just so essential to user satisfaction. Great flows, the sources say, are often built on this concept of intuitive onboarding. And they specifically point to something called progressive disclosure, which isn't just dumping a huge instruction manual on you right at the start.
No, definitely not.
It means revealing features or options or data only when the user actually needs them, maybe one step at a time. It also means celebrating the small wins, right? Like a progress bar filling up or a little well-done message after setup. Things that maintain momentum and user confidence.
Exactly. And the alternative to that is frustrating complexity, which often happens when designers, perhaps unintentionally, violate a principle called Hick's law. This law basically suggests that the time it takes to make a decision increases logarithmically with the number of choices presented.
More choices, slower decisions.
Right. Poor design overwhelms users. It leads to decision paralysis, which is a key component of cognitive overload. People just freeze or give up. And to satisfy a well-informed user today, designers have to recognize the difference between intrinsic cognitive load and extraneous cognitive load. Intrinsic load is just the necessary complexity of the task itself. I mean, if you're using complex data analysis software, some mental load is unavoidable. It's part of the job.
Sure.
But extraneous load, that's the mental effort caused purely by poor design, like confusing navigation or redundant clicks or unclear labels. The human brain naturally seeks the path of least resistance, and every additional moment of frustration or confusion caused by that extraneous load, it just increases the likelihood of abandonment. People will just leave.
Yeah, I think everyone's experienced that. Think about that last massive software update where they suddenly moved the save button or buried a core setting like 5 menus deep. That sudden spike in extraneous cognitive load is exactly what designers, the good ones anyway, obsessively try to eliminate to create those frictionless journeys.
Precisely.
Okay, so we've covered getting the user on board and making things easy. Now, let's take our analysis beyond that immediate conversion click. Let's focus on sustained loyalty and habit formation. We're moving from getting the first click to ensuring the user actually returns week after week.
Exactly. Because true digital success, at the end of the day, is judged on retention, on loyalty. The goal is building that sustained loyalty by designing experiences that are not just functional, but deeply empathic and psychologically insightful. This means creating experiences that keep users coming back, voluntarily, because they want to. And this strategy relies heavily on personalization. And it's more than just, putting username at the top of an email. Sophisticated personalization involves tailored interfaces, maybe predictive content modeling that anticipates your needs before you even state them. It makes you feel genuinely understood.
Right, that increases the emotional investment.
Dramatically. It increases emotional investment and the perceived value of the product because it feels like it was made specifically for you.
Which pairs perfectly, I imagine, with robust feedback loops.
Absolutely essential. These are responsive systems that immediately acknowledge user actions. Think visual confirmations, instantaneous status updates. This creates immediate satisfaction and it closes the behavioral loop, encouraging continued interaction. If you click send and the screen flashes green and confirms receipt instantly, that little moment of success reinforces the action, makes you feel good.
And then there's gamification.
Right. And again, this isn't just about adding meaningless badges everywhere. It's about utilizing things like progress bars, achievements, sometimes variable reward, things that tap into our intrinsic motivation. It makes the act of engaging with the platform rewarding in itself. It can turn necessary tasks into sort of satisfying challenges. It's what keeps you running that extra virtual mile or completing the next learning module.
And finally, maybe the most abstract but arguably the most important element for that long-term engagement: emotional connection.
Yes. The sources really suggest that designs that successfully resonate emotionally create truly memorable experiences. They ensure that the user doesn't just, complete a task efficiently, they actually enjoy the process and remember the brand fondly, associating positive feelings with it.
So when we put all of this together then, from the instant trigger of a color to the strategic reduction of cognitive load, and fostering that long-term emotional investment.
Yeah, you realize that success in the digital space isn't just about boosting sales figures. It's really about designing a better, maybe more human-centric digital world, one click, one interaction at a time.
Wow. Okay, so we've covered quite a bit. From those subtle shadows that form the invisible hand of design,
Yep.
and color triggers that instill trust or urgency, right up to leveraging loss aversion with scarcity, and that whole quest for cognitive ease through principles like Hick's Law.
I think the final takeaway really is that the architecture of the web is also, in a very real way, the architecture of the mind. Every single design decision, no matter how seemingly small, has a psychological consequence for you, the user. It dictates how you interact with the product and ultimately whether you return.
So a final thought for you, the listener. Now that you know these hidden forces exist, how will your own interaction with your favorite apps change? Will you start actively looking for those scarce data messages, maybe spotting the blue trust signals, or noticing the carefully engineered simplicity of progressive disclosure, realizing you are part of this meticulously designed experience? It's definitely something to mull over the next time you intuitively decide to add to cart.